Growing up, I've seen a lot of people feel dirty, feel unwanted, feel, less of themselves, feel short of a particular glory because they crossed a line. Because they crossed that line, they crossed that invisible line that they shouldn't have crossed. Their eyes carry this shame and this belief that many people secretly carry. Many people, they carry this belief that are actually not true. But do you know that some of these beliefs of sexual purity, they are not true? They're actually myths. They're actually, things that somebody just sat down and just came up with. They are not really true. And today we are going to expose some of these lies together so that you can walk free, so that you can walk whole, so that you can walk lighter. And you have to stick around because the last myth that we are going to talk about today is the sneakiest one. And many people don't believe that it is actually a myth. And it's very possible that this might be what is holding you down. This might be what is really preventing you from the joy that God intended for you, from the joy that God really wants, for you to enjoy. Now, the first myth I have here is purity equals virginity. Virginity is not a sign of purity. No. Virginity is not a sign of purity. Somebody can be applauded because she has not had sexual immorality, or because she's still a virgin, but she has not had sex. But no one is talking about the addictions. No one is talking about the anger. Nobody's talking about the greed. Nobody's talking about that wicked heart, those impure thoughts that keep her late at night. Nobody's talking about the malice. Nobody's talking about the animosity that is in her. You see why I say that virginity is not sexual purity? Virginity is not synonymous to purity. They are two different things. Virginity is just biological. But purity has to do with the mind, the heart, and the spirit. So purity is not just about what you have not done or what you have done. It's the position of your heart. It's the posture of your heart right now. So you could be a virgin, but impure thoughts keep you late at night. You could be a virgin, but you're wicked. You could be a virgin, but you have all those sex fantasies. You've not had sex, still a virgin. But you're more immoral than somebody that has already had sex. You can have a history that you're not really proud of. You could have a past that you can't really come out and say, that this is what you did. You're not really proud of it. But you can still step into purity. You can still walk into purity today. So virginity does not equate purity. They are not the same. But do you know that even with a pure heart, our culture still feeds us some lies, still feeds us this particular lie that purity is impossible. That's the second myth you're talking about. The culture says that purity is impossible. So in this culture, yeah, it is impossible in this culture. That's what the culture has said. Because of the incidence of hookup culture. Hookup culture is now a thing. Hookup culture is now a norm. It's a normal thing in the culture. Yes, temptation is everywhere. When you look around, you will see temptation. When you open your phone, temptation is there. When you're walking on the street, temptation is there. Even in your office, temptation is there. So, but know that God's grace is bigger than this. God's grace is bigger than whatever temptation it is that you're passing through. He said that it's not going to give you a temptation that is more than you. So know that temptation that you're facing on the road, that temptation you're facing in your workplace, God's grace is available for you to overcome it. God always gives us an escape route. It's not left for you to, take it. Yeah, the culture shouts loud that purity is impossible. That's the mantra. That's the normal thing. That's what the culture says. But remember that Jesus is Lord. And He is Lord over the culture. So don't just tie yourself based on what is normal or what is easily obtainable, what you see around you. Ignore the noise. Don't let that noise win. Because if you allow that noise win, you will just change your purity. You just change your purpose. Remember, I said that purity is not just about what you've done or what you have not done. It's the state of your heart. Now, the third myth, which is if you've messed up once, you are done. That is the third myth. This one is talking about those that have already crossed the line. They believe that since they've crossed the line once, their own is finished, that they are finished, they are done. God has nothing else. God will not do anything else with them and all that and all that. Yeah, you might have crossed that line. You might have fallen into sin. You might have given in. But know that purity is not reigned forever. Your purity is not reigned forever. Purity is renewed daily. Renewed daily and by God's mercy. So it's not something you just claim as a promise. It's something that is renewed daily. You have to work on it. God's grace is there. God's grace is available for you to walk in purity. So purity is the direction you choose to walk today. That is what purity is. It's not about the one that that one time that you failed. It's about the direction that you decide now that this is what I'm going to be doing now. So your past does not define you. In fact, it doesn't have to define you, because God's reset button is always available to give you a fresh start. God's reset button is always available to give you that needed renewal. So don't just, remain there as you've fallen. Once you fall, you stand up, pick up yourself, dust yourself, and continue with what you are doing. So don't listen to the norm, don't listen to the myth that says that since you've messed up, you are done, or since you've messed up, God has nothing to do with you again. Now, speaking of renewal, do you know that purity goes beyond the physical? Purity goes beyond what you do with your body or what you do in your body. So purity is not just about having sex. It's not just about having sex intercourse. Purity is not just about sex. That is the myth. Now the fourth myth we're going to talk about. And the fourth myth is purity is just about sex. Like I started with, purity goes beyond the physical. It goes beyond what you do with your body. So it's not only about sleeping with somebody or having sex intercourse with somebody. It's a holistic state of the heart. Purity is a holistic state of the mind, and it takes note of what you watch, what you say, how you say it, what you admire, even your thoughts. That's why I said it's not just physical. Now it's more of the heart, more of the mind. So once what you say, you can be virgin, you can be a virgin and still have impure thoughts. You know that. You can be a virgin and still watch. So that's why I said that purity goes beyond the physical. It goes beyond what you do with your body. So you need to guard your whole self, because true purity unlocks a greater vision that God has for you. Now I have a question for you. What is that one physical area in your life that you're working on? What is that one physical area in your life that you're trying to, be pure? Drop it in the comment section and let us, discuss them. Now let's bust the fifth myth. The fifth myth is purity is only for women. That's the fifth myth. But people say it once you hear purity, people's mind always go to virginity, or as a feminine virginity, or goes to women being virgin. No, it's not just that. God calls everyone, both male and female. He calls everyone to be pure. So purity is not just for a select gender. It's not just for a kind of people. It's for everybody. It's not just for a particular set of people. It's for everybody. It's not just for women. Yes, men also can maintain purity. Men also can live a life of purity. It is a godly call for all. So once you hear about purity, know that you are also among. You as a man, you're also among. It's not just for your wife to be or for your sisters. Now let's bust this sixth myth. The sixth myth says that pursuing purity means you can't have fun. People see living a life of sexual purity as being mundane, or being too boring, or being too archaic. Pursuing purity can actually be fun, because God is not anti-pleasure. God delights in the pleasure of his children. So pursuing purity can actually be fun, but you must maintain your boundaries. You must put boundaries in place. So in the bid to have fun, in the bid to feel among, in quotes, your boundaries must be in place. Your boundaries must be maintained. As you've set the boundaries there, enforce it. As you set the boundaries there, maintain it, so that you don't cross that line. That's why boundaries are very, very important. You have to set your boundaries so that you don't cross that line. If you don't know how to set boundaries, I have a video on how to set boundaries. I want you to understand that when God says no, he's actually protecting something that is bigger. He's actually protecting a bigger yes, and the bigger yes is protecting is you having a strong connection with him, having a strong relationship with him. That's why I said you don't have to be too boring in the bid that you're pursuing purity. Yeah, have fun, but have fun with boundaries in place, so that you don't cross to the other side and offend God. Now the next question I want to ask is, in this community now, in this changing world, is purity even relevant? This will lead us to the seventh myth, which says that purity is old-fashioned. Many people say that purity is for our parents and for the apostles, and the sense of old. Purity is tied to God's unchanging character. God's unchanging character. So it's not just about a particular climate or a particular culture or a particular era. It's tied to God's unchanging character, tied to trends and vibes. It's tied to God's unchanging character. That is character that cannot be changed. So purity is not archaic. Purity is not too old. Purity is not too old-fashioned. Purity is current. It is always in style. It is very, very current. So purity is not outdated. Rather, see it as an edge that you have in a hookup culture. See it as an eternal edge that you have for you to be able to survive this hookup culture. Now, the eighth myth that many people talk about sexual purity is that purity is easy if you just try hard enough. Purity is not something that you chase on your own or with your own strength. It's not something that you can do by the power of your might or the power of your mind. It does not come by willpower. It does not come by what you want to do or how you want it to be. It's only achieved by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is only the person that can help you to achieve purity. Now, the Holy Spirit accompanied with accountability to a faithful community. So once you have the Holy Spirit in you to direct you on how to live a life or maintain a life of purity, you can be watching something now and the Holy Spirit will say, you know that this thing is contaminating you. You just swipe away. That's why I said that the Holy Spirit is there. So the Holy Spirit with accountability and community, that's the only way you can achieve this life of purity. So it's not by a supernatural power or by a super strength, and it's not self-made either. It's not something that you can achieve by yourself. It is by a supernatural power. So don't go alone, don't walk alone, don't tread this path alone. Find an accountability circle and integrate yourself there. Find a community, a life-giving community, and put yourself there. Plunge yourself in that community. Make sure that you're accountable to somebody, especially if purity is a problem to you. I mean, you're really struggling with purity. So integrate yourself in a community for your safety. We say that there is safety in multitude. So when you find yourself in a multitude of people, when you find yourself in a group of people, you are safer. Now, the ninth myth about purity, sexual purity, we are going to talk about is that people say that purity means perfection. Purity is not perfection. It's just about progress in God's hand. So it's not about being flawless or being without sin. It's about progress, because spirit-led progress beats perfection. So when you're moving in step to perfection, when you're progressing to perfection, it is much more important than the finish line. It is much more important than where you're going. That those steps you're taking to perfection, to purity, is much more important than perfection. So purity is not about perfection. Purity is about progress. It's about moving from one point to the other. Now, does it mean that all these efforts in maintaining purity will guarantee marriage? Does it mean that, yeah, after living a pure life now, you know this time you'll be married? That is the 10th myth we're going to talk about. And the 10th myth is that purity guarantees a perfect marriage. Purity does not guarantee a perfect marriage. Yes, purity honors God. It honors your spouse. But it does not guarantee a perfect marriage. It does not guarantee an easy life. And it does not guarantee that you're going to get married in the next 2 years. No. So marriage is not a reward for your purity. Marriage is not a reward for living a life of purity. So marriage is not a reward for living a pure life. Marriage is just grace. Marriage is a segment of life. Marriage is a point in life for you to achieve more. It's a point in life for you to still go towards purity. Do you know that married people also must pursue purity? Purity is not just for single people. This is a bonus tip. Purity is not just for single people. So that you live the life of purity or that you abstain from sexual immorality does not guarantee marriage or does not guarantee a perfect marriage. So you have to pursue purity because of God's glory, not just because you want to marry or because you want to marry a pastor. You can't manipulate the outcome. So live a life of purity. So pursue purity because you want to glorify God, not just because you want to force God's hand to give you a perfect spouse. I know a lot of people that live a life of purity. I mean, they were pure. They were not just virgins. They were pure before they got married, but they still have issues in their marriages. So if you're chasing this myth, or if you're going after purity because you want to have a perfect spouse or a perfect marriage, it's better for you to drop it now. Drop that myth now and change your mind towards it, and know that you are worthy as you are, whether you are married or not. You are still something in God's hand. Now, I need you to remember that purity is not impossible in our present culture. It's not impossible in our present reality. It is not ruined by the mistakes you made in the past. And it's not just for the perfect. It's for everybody. So Purity, those see purity as a daily grace-filled choice that is powered by grace, that is powered by the Holy Spirit. And this choice that is powered by the Holy Spirit is for freedom, not shame. It's for you to live a life that is pleasing to God. It's not for you to live a life of shame. So remember that you are not too far gone to be saved. You're not too weak to be strengthened, and you're definitely not alone, because God is rewriting your story now. And also know that I am with you in your journey into purity. I am here for you. So, which of these myths that we've mentioned now, which one hit you hardest, or which one are you surprised about, or which one do you believe that you thought it was the truth? Put it in the comments, and let's continue our discussion from there. So, if this truth hit you, if you were freed by this truth, if you received liberation by this truth, hit that like button so that this video will get to as many people as need it. Also share the video to your friends, to your family, to your community, to your WhatsApp group, so that they too will get this freedom that you've gotten. And subscribe for more videos, because our next video is going to talk about steps for you to get emotional healing. Steps for you to get healing after a heartbreak, or healing after you've passed through a breakfast. That is what our next video will be talking about, and you don't want to miss it. So until I come your way next time, remember that purity is not about shame. Rather, it's about living a life that will lead you to freedom. So see you in my next video. Bye.